All right, so let's jump into this next story. So this is from the Detroit Free Press from March 15th. Coyote hunting now banned in Michigan for 3 months while pups are still in den. All right, so let's get into it. Coyote hunting is now prohibited in Michigan for 3 months out of the year when pups are in den and still dependent on their parents. The Michigan Department of Natural Resource Commission voted to close the coyote hunting season from April 15th through July 15th. The 4-2 vote Thursday followed a day of testimony from fur bear trappers, hunters, and animal rights groups. Here we go. The Michigan United Conservation Clubs opposed the shortening seasons, saying there's no significant evidence that Michigan's coyote population would be harmed or helped by the proposal. But the Humane Society of the United States, here we go, supported the closing the season when pups are in den, saying the killing of coyotes in late spring generally increased the chance of pups being orphaned, leading to a slow death of starvation, according to a memo to the commission from the Humane Society. So, again, this Humane Society of the United States is not the Humane Society that runs, local, animal shelters. That they are completely separate. They're not aligned at all. The Humane Society of the United States is very much a anti-hunting group, full stop. None of their resources that they accumulate go to any local shelters for anything like that. So the local Humane Society that you have for, adopting cats and dogs and whatnot, not the same organization. Don't get them flip-flopped or don't get them confused at all. B. Fredlander, a lawyer with Attorneys for Animals, a tax-exempt advocacy and educational-based organization based in Canton, said allowing coyote hunting year-round reflected the attitude of coyotes are a nuisance and don't deserve to live. He also spoke before the commission votes Thursday on behalf of the advocacy group organizations and animal law section of the State Bar of Michigan. She said restrictions of the hunting season would reduce the number of dead coyotes and their orphaned pups. She goes on to say, we supported what was before the Natural Resources Commission. It was not a question of do we open coyote hunting or not. Ed Golder, a spokesman for the Michigan Department of Resources, said the groups that advises the DNR on fur bearers recommend cutting the season short due to concerns about public perception about coyotes being harvested while pups are still in the den before they're weaned, have learned to hunt on their own and become independent. Which, again, this gets into a little bit more of a topic that I'm going to get into further down later in the story here. The adversary group membership is predominantly comprised of hunters, trappers, and fur bearers, a group of mammals that include coyotes, badgers, beavers, foxes, and otters. Michigan United Conservation Club, with its 40,000 members, said the decision to justify a shortened season made without scientific evidence. Now enacted, it will make the fight to defend lethal wildlife management much harder. Again, gets into it again with the Humane Society. Whenever the Humane Society of the United States get involved, you know that their ultimate goal is full-out banning of hunting of whatever they're fighting. The Conservation Club said that the release that the commission who voted for the measure based their decisions on perceived social pressures, shirking their responsibility, and legal charge to follow sound scientific management. But Golder said that the commission considers several factors when making decisions about wildlife, the science, as well as social, economic, and political impacts. All right, so this gets into the social science, economic, and political impacts. Those, like the political impacts and the social, should really have no say, or at least be like way down on the list in regards to what your management decisions are. So, according to the Humane Society, indiscriminate year-round killing of coyotes will not reduce populations and actually encourage more breeding. Indiscriminate and random killing of coyotes, the killing removes the ecologically important species from the landscape, the society said in a memo to the commission. Wait a minute. So initially they said that it does not reduce populations and actually encourages more breeding, but then they go on to say that removes them from the landscape. Hold on, which is it? Does it play no impact on the population, or does it impact the population? Which are you saying? You can't have both. Yeah, according to the Humane Society, indiscriminate year-round killing of cows will not reduce their populations and actually encourage more breeding. And then the very next sentence, indiscriminate and random killing of cows removes an ecological important species from the landscape. Huh. Do they even hear themselves? Coyotes, it said, helps control disease transmission by keeping rodent populations in check. Oh, also remove sick animals from gene pool and protect crops and gardens. Oh my gosh, really? Also, another tropic cascade effect by having coyotes on the landscape. They fix everything. and then they go back. Year-round limitless coyote killing does not reduce their numbers, increase population of game species like deer, and does not prevent conflicts with livestock, said Jeff Fritz, Senior Director of Wildlife Protection at the Humane Society, in an interview with the Free Press. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get into this. Or year-round hunting of coyotes. Really, a lot of science does say that, you can hunt coyotes year-round unless you're really going after them and hammering hard. Year-round, you're not going to make a significant impact on the coyote population as a whole. If you harvest a couple of coyotes in your area, good likelihood that others are going to move into the area. These basically satellite coyotes move in. But the thing that really gets me about this is the timing. So they're concerned about that, April to July timeframe. And that coincides right with the nesting period of turkeys and other ground nesting, I'm assuming other ground nesting birds, as well as the dropping of fawns for deer. So, deer, for especially here in the state of Michigan, our deer population is, pretty darn high, especially in certain parts of the state. Now the UP, that's a whole different story. Here in the northern lower, we have a decent population, but downstate they have a significant population of deer. So the idea that, taking coyotes off the landscape during the time of fawns being dropped for the state of Michigan is not, it is going to help. So if you're concerned about having, your fawns survive, then yes, hunting coyotes this time, during that time frame when fawns are dropping, doing that targeted, removal of coyotes during that time frame has been shown to be able to, help those animals out. Bigger picture, is turkeys. There has been significant, concern within the state as well as across the country of the turkey populations not doing all that great. There a lot of areas are seeing a decline in turkey populations. A lot of that has to do kind of for multiple reasons, but usually it comes down to poor habitat and increased predators, which the poor habitat makes it easier for the predators to find the turkey nest and prey on them. In effort to help save turkeys who are we are seeing a decline in their numbers, and people are very concerned about the future of turkeys within the state as well as across the country. Doing a targeted coyote hunt while even in the time frame of turkeys nesting will help save a lot of turkeys by removing those coyotes from the area in the time frame until those nesting periods are over, and potentially a lot of those poults are old enough or big enough where they can fly and get off the ground and be safe from those ground predators. So the idea that you're going to save a few coyote pups, even though they keep making the argument that it makes no effect on the population by hunting them, but yet they're concerned about coyotes dying. But then, in the same breath, not considering the other impacts that having these coyotes on the landscape during that time frame. So again, a lot of people are not year-round coyote hunters. They're not going after coyotes necessarily at a at a high enough pace that they are going to make a significant impact on the population, but just completely disregarding this idea that doing targeted control of coyotes during this time frame is not going to be beneficial to other animals as well. That's the thing that gets me about this decision, that it seems like there's no consideration of that at all. Michigan has year-round coyote hunting since 2016. During their 5-minute before commission meeting Thursday, Fritz said she focused on the following: wildlife in Michigan is held in trust for all Michigan residents. The commission chairman said that the rest of the commission took input from hunters who supported a quiet season, hunters who opposed the animal rights activists. His conclusion: the quiet season would have no impact on coyote population or populations of their prey like deer, that would have a minimal impact on coyote hunting opportunities. See, again, I would love to have asked him what he thought about the idea of this targeted time frame to protect deer fawns and turkeys. Besides, their pelts are bad in condition at the time, and they are not hunted for food. See, again, but if you have a reason to target them during the time frame because you're worried about other wildlife, you just completely cut them at the knees to be able to use it as a tool to help protect these other species. Further, the quiet season does not limit the right of property owners to hunt nuisance coyotes on their land. So, again, I guess I'll have to go back into it and see what he's talking about here. That this quiet season, so if you're able to hunt them still on private land, I didn't know anything about this quiet season, or if they approved it or not. So there'll be more. I'll have to look into that more. But it sounds like, to my understanding, it was an all-out ban that you can't hunt them anywhere during that time frame. So I guess I'll have to look into that a little bit more in depth. But I'm disappointed with their decision that they're looking to try to save some coyotes when their own arguments state that the coyote population would not be affected one way or the other if they continue hunting them. And yet the idea that there's no benefit to hunting them during this time frame. So again, it seems mostly that it's just been a public perception and anti-hunting groups coming down on the on coyote hunting because they're trying to get rid of hunting in general, or the hunting of coyotes, when as a management tool, as the coyote population is not threatened or endangered or scarce in any means. So as overall management of the wildlife and the habitat, taking this time frame out does not help the ecosystem at all. Doesn't help the overlying management of of the resource. And again, I would make the argument that it's a detriment to other species that are that are having a harder time, and that there are concerns about their numbers. So but I'm gonna get off my soapbox on this one, and we will move on to the last story here.